I think I'm going to need a bigger turntable. Yes, that's because we're going to be having a look at the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Real Feel Mosasaurus. As I grab the tape measure to take the length of how big the Mosasaurus is, I also want to tell you that Mosasaurus translates to the Meuse lizard, as it was the first specimen to be found at the Meuse River. So Latin is Mosa and Greek Saurus for lizard. There you go, there's your 411 on the Mosasaurus. So taking it from the tail to the front of its nose, or the front of its snout I suppose, it's about 27, actually it is exactly 27 inches in length. And from the top to the bottom, where my backdrop is, to the top of his head, he's about 7.5 inches in height. And from the bottom to the top of his tail is about 9.5 inches in height. To also prove to you how big the Mosasaurus is, I'm going to bring in the Thrash and Throw T-Rex. This is the biggest T-Rex that I ended up picking up. I never got the super big one, which I guess would be bigger than the Mosasaurus here, but this is the biggest one I wanted to go with. And I've got the tails lined up, telling us that there's about another head or so bigger, another T-Rex head bigger for the Mosasaurus's size. Also a couple of other smaller comparisons. There he is next to the very cool Indoraptor. And actually, while we're talking about raptors, here he is next to just one of the raptors that came with, this is the leaping one, I should say. And we'll just put him right down there. There we go. So again, like, gives you a good idea of how huge this dinosaur is in comparisons to some of the other Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom pieces that we've looked at. By the way, none of this review would have been made possible without viewer Bill, who took the time to send this my way. I think he had actually reached out to me and asked if I had managed to pick up the Mosasaurus. To sad news, I wasn't able to. My local stores just didn't have them, so he took the time and sent it my way. A big thank you, sir, for sending this big dinosaur. You, and you alone, made this review happen. So again, big thank you for that. So having a look at the Mosasaurus, he's definitely sizey. He's a very large-looking dinosaur, but he's not overly heavy. Well, let me explain that to you. He has weight to him. It almost feels as if he's filled with water, just because simply the back of the tail is a denser plastic. The front is a little bit heavier. His gullet almost feels as if it almost feels like it's got liquid in it. Best way as I can describe it, if you were to fill up a bag with water and you were to hold the bag of water like this, or balloon of water, you can feel that there's mass to it, but it definitely feels soft. And that's the best way I can describe the Mosasaurus here. This whole section here is extremely soft. Some assembly is required when you get it out of packaging. You have to install the flippers, the fins. They give you letters, I should say, on the underside, which you can't obviously see now, but each one of these will have a corresponding letter telling you which one you have to put in place. You can't simply just take this fin and put this here. Obviously these fins are a little bit bigger as well, but there is a specific way that you have to put them in. But they are very difficult to put in because while this be a denser plastic, when you're pushing it in, you're essentially squishing this in the process, so there's not really a whole lot to kind of hold it in place. I found what I actually was to do was to grab the one side and kind of just push back on this side while I was pushing this fin in, and eventually I was able to get all four pushed in. The tail also does involve a little bit of assembly, because if not for that, there's no way, well, you probably could have got this in packaging, but the packaging would be that much bigger than what it currently was. The packaging was probably about, well, it was about the size to the tail minus the fins. The tail does, like I said, have a little bit more of a softer feel to it, but it's not nearly as much as the feel of what I'm getting when I'm experiencing when I'm holding this toy in hand. Having a look at its head, very crocodile sort of style of head. It does have a hinge where you can open and close the mouth. And the interior, let me just flip that up. Don't know if you can see it, but not only are you getting a row of teeth around the outer area of the upper jaw, but then there's also some texturing on the inside. Almost kind of looks like there's some smaller teeth on the inside there. And there's the opening there of his esophagus. I would hate to want to change the tonsils on this dinosaur. And a very large tongue. All of this looks like it's been painted in a very bright pink. And again, the outer area here, it's almost the coloring of like a cream color. We flip it upside down and it's pretty consistent, I have to admit. The coloring that they've got all the way across the underbelly of the dinosaur. Unlike, say, the T-Rex that we saw before, where it just kind of some of the dinosaurs actually just abruptly stop. When it gets to the tail, that's the end of the paint. Luckily here, this one continues on and goes to the very end of the tail. And the tail's got some glorious color here, making up of 3 different colors: the lower underbelly of the beige, this blue that makes up the majority of its body, and then of course you've got the fins on the top here that are almost like a darker gray. Here it translates extremely well and transitions extremely well from the smaller spikes making up the top part of its, pretty much the entire body of the dinosaur. It's got these wave-like little details here also, making up just like the little markings on the dinosaur itself. And you've got a little bit of this flecking, sort of flexed spotting here. Really gives it that sense that's realistic in skin. For his eye, or its eye, it looks like they've just painted the eyeball in and have left it or have dotted it in the same dark gray color, this bluish gray that makes up the top of its head here. Again, you've got some of that nice speckling detail running across the lower area just before it starts getting to the sharper teeth, which luckily the teeth are smooth, so there's no chance that these are going to be a little bit sharp, although you probably wouldn't want to be putting your hand too close to its mouth in case it closes shut. As for the mouth, though, I don't find 100% it always closes. A lot of times it seems to want to stay open. I'm wondering if there's like a hinge or something inside that prevents the mouth from always fully closing. It seems to always want to stay open as I kind of close it shut. You can see it opens up again. For its posability is only really in its fins. I guess to some extent you could count the front of its mouth, but the main articulation on the dinosaur is really just in the fins. If I flip it up, I just want to show you how each of the fins work. It's very similar to action figures, obviously if you've picked up an action figure along the way. So you've got a peg, but the peg also has a hinge. It's like a peg hinge socket, like a ball joint almost. So you've got the hinge that happens back and forth so that you can actually bring these fins down, or you can bring the fins up, and you can also rotate them all the way around. This works both on this fin, and the pair of fins on the back as well. Don't worry as well, there is that little QR code, so we're going to unlock the Mosasaurus in the Jurassic World app. We'll do that in a split second. But overall, I do really like the look of this. I don't know if I would say it falls under the category of real feel. I couldn't quote my fingers there because I was too busy holding the dinosaur, but I don't know from the sense that it feels like skin, but it's misleadingly weird if you hold it in your hand. It's completely hollow, but I'm wondering, because maybe it's also the weight of the fins that are doing it, if you hold it kind of like this, it feels like it's full of liquid. And no one on this planet Earth will know exactly what I'm talking about unless you have one of these in your hand. If you just kind of go like this, it feels like it's full of liquid, even though there's nothing technically in it, but that definitely gives it its real feel. I don't know if I would necessarily say that the plastic itself feels like real skin, but then again, I don't have a real Mosasaurus to compare that to, and that's probably a good idea. I have to admit, it's been a long time since I've opened up my Jurassic World app here. I've got the Dinosaur of the Week of the Gallimimus. Let's go ahead and have a look at that first. Yeah, there's the Gallimimus right there. We can go into Collection, and this is basically where I've left off. Like I said, I haven't really picked up any Jurassic World dinosaurs in a while. having really covered what I thought was the majority of them hitting Canadian store shelves. Maybe in the US there would have been some additional pieces. Like, I'm looking through a lot of them, and there's a lot here that I have missed along the way. I think that's like the Brachiosaurus, for example. Never saw that one. A couple of more T-Rexes, some Pteranodons. Not really sure what line this would have fallen under, but nonetheless, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We'll go into scan, and we'll line it up and unlock the Mosasaurus. And there it is right there. Something I'm sure I sound like a broken record for saying, but again, I wish there was a way you could tap it or rotate it so you could get a full feel of what it looks like. You're pretty much relegated to just sitting here and watching it do its thing. It does look neat. I just, again, wish that the app could do a little bit more above and beyond what it's doing right now. So we're going to go ahead and find out some 411 when it comes to the Mosasaurus. And I noticed that there are 3 available with another 2 locked. We'll go ahead and press the first one. The Mosasaurus grows up to 56 feet long. Can you believe that? 56 feet in length. Additionally to that, Mosasaurus means the Meuse River lizard, since she is from that area. Go figure, that's what I said too. And lastly, a carnivorous aquatic lizard. She eats fish and marine reptiles. Probably could also eat larger dinosaurs and humans, I'm sure, if they fell into the tank as well. But there is the Mosasaurus. The Mosasaurus is truly a large specimen to be putting on display, something that towers over even the largest of the dinosaurs in the collection, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I do like the look of the Mosasaurus. It looked very scary and large in the movie, and it's nice to get that now in plastic form. Regarding the real feel, in all honesty, I find the real feel works better for it just holding it than it does the actual skin. The skin does still kind of feel very plasticky, but it's when you are holding it by its belly that you really kind of get that sense that there's liquid and there's organs and stuff inside the beast. It just kind of gives you that kind of synthetic feel that there's something inside the body of the dinosaur. And that might just be me, but I noticed that that seemed to be the case when I was holding it. Again, a big thank you to Bill. If not for Bill, this review wouldn't have even been possible. Took the time and sent this my way. The Mosasaurus should be still available in most stores, although again in Canada, no such luck. Couldn't find it. Wasn't available where I was able to. The different Toys R Us's and Walmarts that I looked around just didn't have them. And luckily, again, Bill took the time to send it my way. Today we were having a look at the Jurassic World. This was the real feel Mosasaurus. Pretty cool. If you guys haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button down below, make sure you do so. We're going to have some more videos coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.